We're live. Hey, we're live. Yes, we're live. We're live. We're live. Yes, we're live. Hello. Letitia, yes. I see you. Thank you, Letitia. Hopefully, I think the internet's working with us now. I think you're coming on. I feel it. Yes. She's
Is this
connected.
really happening?
It's
And once
happening.
again, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh,
Okay,
I
wait, wait,
can. I
wait.
can. No, I can. It's just very low.
It's very low, so I'm just so glad to have you on here. I don't want to touch anything and lose you.
No, don't touch anything and lose me. I can't see me
I
either, by
lose
the way.
you.
So I
What?
have no idea what I look like
You look fabulous.
or if it
You
can
look.
anybody hear me?
I can hear you. So Lavera, I see. I saw Tanya. Trouble. Wave if you can hear us and see us both. This is a win.
I
We
can't
just
I
had to.
can't see myself.
We just had to be
These
patient. We had to be patient. So let me introduce, as I said, the creative producer, Letitia Guillory, who's also a producer, a writer, a performing artist, and in the past, a theater director. So, Letitia, we're so happy to see you. And
this
since,
is so weird. This is so weird because A, I can't see me, but that's irrelevant because I don't really want to look at me, right? And and B, it's so low, and I'm not sure why that I'm actually going to stick in, see if earbuds are going to
yes,
help.
because we want to see your face. So if you can, yes, the camera just needs to come up just a little bit.
Well, the camera was
Yes.
perfect. It was here and it was perfect. But if I
Okay.
put it in, I literally cannot plug in.
Okay.
But I can hear you and it's very, very low. So I'm going to come
Okay.
a
I
little
will talk
closer. So how are you
louder.
guys doing? Thank you for having us, Rosalind, and thank you guys for logging on and coming back. IG is being shady, but that's okay. We love you anyway.
I think
We love
because
you anyway.
I'm gonna be honest. I sometimes have difficulty with my phone, my internet. I'm telling you, I'm on full bars. The phone is charged. I don't know. It may be IG, but you know what? We have you here. So we've heard Tanya talk about your input, your inspiration, you pushing her to get it done. That turnaround time in 2 months
Yeah,
is amazing. So we need to
yeah,
talk because I need some more pushing. But let's talk about Winston for right now.
sure.
So,
Oh, okay. So
um,
wait, hold up. We're seeing. I only see half of both faces. I'm not sure why. I don't see me at all, Ammonia, but I can see all of Rosalind. Oh wait, now she has both of us. Okay, great, awesome, awesome,
yes, and
awesome.
guys, and what I find too is like a 20-second delay with stuff. So I think we're both in.
Yeah,
But thank you guys. Continue to let us know if you can't hear us anymore, if you can't see us. We really appreciate that, and you guys coming back. So, Letitia, we've been talking about Winston. We've also been you kind of talking about your experience. So we're going to switch it up a little bit since we've had two of your creative team kind of talking about Winston. Let's hear about your experience, your background.
my background.
Yes,
Okay.
like well,
Well,
how you came into the creative. Have you always been creative, or like just kind of talk
no,
about
yeah,
your
I came
journey
out the womb like that. That's real talk. I
out the
literally
womb?
came. I mean, like I haven't been anything other than who I am.
Okay.
And so when I say that, I mean that um, when I I was acting at like 3. I was attempting to tell story by the time I was 4. And by that, I mean, um, so my mother worked at this Catholic school, and there were these amazing nuns. They were all Black nuns, Sisters of the Holy Family, shout out. Um, and one of them gave me this huge antique typewriter that was bigger than me, really. And I just would be plucking out things. I didn't know what I was doing, but I loved the visceral experience of writing. My best friend at the time, back then, and I see Kimberly Abney on, but Tracy Shagwa, I mean, we were friends from the womb. We used to do what we call chicken scratch when we were little girls. because we didn't know how to write cursive. So we would just be, so the visceral experience of writing has always been part of my identity and has always brought me great joy. And the idea of creating story in front of an audience has evolved as the same time I did, right? So this has been who I've always been. And I would say by the time I was in elementary school, I began to really commit to, I'm going to write a novel. I would take, school notebooks and write novels, and I would write poetry. And so I was very committed to that. I was very committed to art. But somehow about fifth grade, it really landed like, no, the writing and acting were really the thing. And I mean, I was writing plays with my classmates, and we would perform them like at the end of the day because we didn't have nothing to do, or because we did all our work. So this is a moment where it's really important we encourage kids to assume the roles that they want to have as a profession as adults in their playtime, because eventually, like it or not, they really are going to do those things. And so that, that's, so I'm really giving you the whole shebang here, Rosalind.
Yes,
and then eventually I went to a performing arts high school in Houston and was a theater major. And there, the sky was the limit. I could write, I could direct, I could act, I could produce, I could do all of that. But all of this was couched in theater. I didn't have, and then I went to the University of Texas, majored in acting, and minored in playwriting. I was having my first play produced probably sometime around 20. But still doing all three things, never really stopping doing all the things, right? When I moved to New York, I came here with the intention of writing and directing and performing theater. However, as I began to stretch and grow as an artist, and certainly as a storyteller, some stories were bigger than the stage. Some stories I felt needed to live on a screen. And so as a performance artist, my work would start to include the moving image. And I would find myself going out in the middle of a sugarcane field with my father, Ibaye, who's since passed, but he would go on these crazy jaunts with me in rural Louisiana so I could film just sugarcane blowing in the breeze, because I wanted that as part of my show, anytime I would travel, and still do now, I love to film water because I use it in my work, And so what's happening is, imagine I'm becoming this hybrid on a whole nother level, just in terms of how I want to tell story. And then I'm also beginning to realize, but the story is bigger than here. And I called a friend and mentor, Jamal Joseph, amazing person. They were doing, there was a writing workshop that he was part of, and which is how we met initially when I first moved to New York. And I asked him, I said, I want to write film and TV with the freedom I feel with writing theater, right? And he said, well, do you have a story? And at the time I had a horror feature I was working on. And he said, okay, well, I'm going to put you in touch with this guy, and you guys should talk. And honestly, even before then, I'd written a screenplay, but it was such a breech birth. It got second round at Sundance, but it was so painful. Listen, I did that on Microsoft Works. Y'all on this IG, y'all know Microsoft Works. Don't judge me, Rosalind. Used to work for Microsoft. I see you. But I didn't buy the software, because I didn't know. So this is my other thing to tell everybody is, just do what you got to do with whatever tool you have. Eventually, you're going to get all of what you need. And so those were the beginnings of me transitioning to, I want to write and create work for the moving image outside of the theater. Right. And that's how that started happening. And lastly, I'll just say creative producing it was something I was already doing, but didn't know that's what it was called. And I wasn't getting those credits. Let's just be real about that. So producers, ladies, get your credits.
Get the
because
credit.
that's a whole nother IG to talk about
I know we generally do the
women
work a
producers.
lot before we get the credit, right?
Right. We do a lot. We do a lot, and and because we love what we do, and because we're committed to that work, we often don't realize until you see everybody on the carpet but you. And you're like, wait, how did that happen, right? So
Right.
all I'm going to say about that is I am a member of New York Women on film and television. Lamonia urged me to consider and join. Yay, yay, Lamonia. And before COVID, they would have these night outs once a month where it was just a networking event. And so I was going to those, but I was really looking for someone to come on and help develop the projects I had. I was looking for producers. But what would happen is, as soon as I got my cocktail and I stood still too long, you know what because you've seen it happen.
Yes.
Woman after woman would approach me pitching their scripts, and I'm looking at them like, yo, this is what happens when you're I was like, yo, I'm trying to get mine on. How am I put you on? I'm trying to get on. And so what happens is it happened, it kept happening. And then finally this young woman, Natalie, Holly, who's awesome, she sat in front of me and she's really sweet. And she's talking about this project and it's like a doc and I'm not sure. And she's like, can we just meet? And I was looking at her and I was like, we can meet, but I don't know what you think I can do for your project. And we did meet and we've become colleagues and she's very nice. But it was what happened in that world is this. Many are called and some of us are forcefully chosen because the universe keeps throwing it at you and you have the skill set and you enjoy it. So that's how that identity started to shape. Pa Untu was written by my brother, and it's a wonderful film. And I was brought in to really work with that just in terms of, because it's a French New Wave hood comedy. Yes, I said that. I repeat, French New Wave hood comedy set in Atlanta. Yes, simple. Dude wakes up one day and he can't speak nothing but French, and shenanigans ensue and life changes. But because we knew we were doing a French New Wave film, there was a lot of research that we wanted to do, and that's where I entered the picture, to talk about and figure out what was the visual language of storytelling we were going to lean into. What canon are we speaking to? So when I come to a project, thank you, Lamonia, I see you. I come to a project asking those questions about what is the conversation that's already happening that we are now joining? What is the legacy and the canon of the craft of filmmaking that we are either advancing or borrowing from? And ultimately, what do we want our audience to feel? And so that's where my work begins, right? And Tanya, I met through New York Women in Film and Television. So once I accepted that I was a producer, I wanted another project, right? So, and it's not that I don't have a million projects. If those who know me know, I write. I've been a writer for a very long time, and I have 50 million projects. But I don't know why I wasn't looking at that work, and it could be because I don't know. I honestly, seriously, at that moment, I don't know. But I was listening, I was telling my journey to a room of women, and we were going around the room talking about what we were working on, and Tanya started talking, and when she wasn't talking, I was like, well, what you want to do? You ain't here to just look at me on a weekday night. I mean, yeah, there's some, cocktail here, but really ain't no burgers or nothing. So why are we here? And so she's right. I really pushed her because when she talked about the story, I knew, number one, that nobody was really telling that story. Mm-hmm. Number two, I felt like the humanity that we wanted to unpack was really important and kind of supersedes the social circumstances. And number three, I thought it was interesting to be able to tell a story in one's authentic diasporan culture, meaning that yeah, we're probably going to need subtitles. So right now, I should say I'm the subtitle girl in terms of the films I do, because Paantu has subtitle, Winston has subtitle. The next one, I don't know, it won't. But all of that to say, I really, I really felt very compelled by the story, and
Mm,
because of my own personal activism around not only HIV/AIDS but LGBTQ rights. I felt very compelled by it. So I wouldn't let it go, because I also could see, my God, it was one location. Yes, let's do it. And really, I was trying to get her to do it in Brooklyn.
right.
She was like,
So I,
no. I was like, but we don't have to spend
but
right
but I
here.
want to go back and ask you. So when you guys are talking, because I'm sorry, I have to go back because Tanya also said this.
That's okay.
So what was it about? Like you heard it and you were like, we're going to do this. But what was it about? Was it the pitch? It was her passion around it. As you did share that it was the story that you wanted to hear, that authentic story, and it wasn't in that perspective. But what was it about that? Because we know with New York Women in Film and a lot of these events we go to, we hear a lot of pitches. So can you just give us like what else
Sure.
was it about it that you knew that this is the
Well,
person you could work with and get it done?
because I could see it. I knew it was a film,
Okay.
even though its history actually starts on stage, and she talked about Carl's play, but I could see it. And I think, it goes back to understanding when a story is bigger than the stage, when it is so cinematic, you can see it. So I literally could see the beginning, the middle, and the end of it when she talked.
Great.
you know, and that may be from me as a writer, or that's me as a producer. But I really could see the beginning, the middle, and the end. I could feel the sense of, so for me, one of the things I was interested in Winston, um, in when we were working on it, working on script, but more so working with the actor, who, yes, is definitely brilliant, real talk, was this kind of soliloquy, classic theater, um, Shakespearean moment, if you will. And that's what really turned me on, was like, that's the canon we're speaking to.
Yes.
In Winston, this is Hamlet. This is literally what it is. What should I do? This is where my life is at. I'm desperate. Am I desperate?
Mhm.
I'm a little crazy because I've had some desperate things happen. So for me, I saw the Hamlet of it all. And I saw it. So that's what really did it. So I'd say, if you're pitching, really make sure that
Yes.
you are describing that story in such a way that the person hearing it sees it, not just hear it. You can be poetic all day long, but if you can't give me the world and give me the character and give me the jeopardy or the problem, then you probably need to continue to massage it. And let me just say, as a
Mhm.
writer, that can take a while, and be okay. As I tell myself, it's okay if it takes a while. Hey, Tracy, I see you.
Yes. And
That's
no,
my
that
friend who
that was
watched me
key.
pluck and try and write as a kid. Hmm.
No, thank you for sharing that, because I do think it's a lot of creatives on here, whether you're pitching film or you're pitching something in a corporate board meeting. Um,
Hmm.
we always talk about like having access. You had access, you had the story, but you
Right,
visually saw it and you wanted to tell the story. And
right.
that's why when they talk about pitching, they're like, why do you have to tell the story? Why do you want to tell the story? And Tanya did such a great job that you were like, yes, and only, kind of pushing her to do that with you. So can you share too? Because I think I love the team that you guys have created. What we know that filmmaking is a collaborative thing, right? But what
Hmm.
was it about like your team, what you brought and what Tanya brought, and how you guys have respect for each other so you can tell the truth, push and pull, and make it work.
Right.
So about that process.
So, well, first of all, and Ayana said it earlier, that that you know Tanya is very warm. She's a mommy. She's a nurturing energy. And I think, you know, and that's authentic and that's real. Like that's really who she is. So I will say that when you understand that, you know that nothing is coming at you but love and respect, or at least that's her intention. And I also think when you're doing your work, it's important that you imbue that in your work. I don't care if you're doing CSI crime scenes. What matters is that you take great joy and pride in what you're doing, as if you were the carpenter. And y'all can read into that anything y'all want. Some of my people will, some won't. But you need to take pride in what you're doing. And not just pride, but also care and nurturing about it. So I think that's part of it. You know, our personalities mesh. And then also, I think also the push and pull of it is, for me, recognizing when that filmmaker needs space to find their way. Just back off and have some space. So I think that's part of it. You know, we definitely pushed and pulled. We pushed and pulled on the script. We pushed and pulled on the edit. You know, I ask hard questions. She'll tell you that. You know, you know, I was one of those people who said, "Who's this film for?" You know, I was very blunt about that. I'm not, let me just say this. Jamaica did a girl right. I'd be happy to go shoot in Jamaica anytime, baby, anytime.
That's beautiful to have that experience.
Yeah, I had an amazing experience, real talk. But however, I wasn't interested in making a film for Jamaicans. I was interested in making a film for, honestly, Black men, wherever they lived in the world. That's who I personally was really interested in, because the dynamic of understanding someone unpacking their quote unquote toxic masculinity and recognizing that it's a problem, the aha moment was golden. It was golden. It was golden. And that's what I was interested in. So Tanya and I would go back and forth sometimes, because she, you know, she had, you know, of course, pride, you know, very proud of being Jamaican, very proud of culture, very proud and concerned about the issues there. But at the same time, I'm like, but girl, I'm not, what, I'm trying to become a voting member of the Academy. I ain't got time to play with some home movies now. Let's make it bigger. Let's make it real big, you know, and still keep your authenticity and still tell your story about your people. You can do all of that. But I say go bigger, because our stories are big, people. They are not small stories. Don't let nobody tell you that, because they're lying to you. They'll be listen, I pitched last week or a week before, and the lady said to me, "Oh, well, you know, the period piece," because my feature that I'm working, you know, working on producing is a period story. It's set in the 50s. You know, that's gonna be difficult. I said, really? Because Selma seemed to do really well.
Yes.
So the other thing is, make sure that you know the world of the business in which you're going in enough to, you know, how much money that made at box office, you know how much it costs to make that movie, so that the next time some frog looks at you, and those who know me know what that means, looks at you and tells you, "Oh, that's going to be hard to make," you can say, "Really? Because here are the receipts, boo. Here are the receipts." Okay? And you don't say, by the way, don't say it being salty. Don't do that. Don't do that. But just say it with, you know, "This was really good. What did you think of it?" Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's, you know, the push and pull was, you know, we both want the same thing. We want the story to happen. We want it to be successful. She knows that you know, my mentor, one of my mentors, Tunde Samuel Ibaye, from National Black Theater, when I worked with him, we were in rehearsal on one of my pieces, and something happened I needed, and he looked at me like, "Oh God." I said, "I know, you think it's crazy, right?" He said, "No." He said, "I have to ask myself, who do I serve? I serve the work. So if that's what you need to get out there and do that show or write, then I have to do that, because that's the commitment I made." You know, when my cinematographer decided that she wanted some fancy schmancy cameras that were not on the list, I needed to figure out a way to do that. And
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but 2 hours later, we had access to those cameras. Now, we didn't wind up needing them, but the idea that me understanding in my role as producer, I need to
Mm-hmm.
solve that problem so that we can get the best product available, so my cinematographer can do her best job, so my
Mm-hmm.
director can trust that her vision is going to be realized, so my actor, who is a beautiful dark-skinned man, and we're shooting at night, that he's going to be seen beautifully by that
Yes,
firelight.
that was.
All of those
Mm-hmm.
things are important. So, yeah. So she knows I want
That's
the
really.
best for the project in her.
You know,
She
I
could hang
love how
up
you
on me though, but
guys.
she doesn't.
I love how you guys work together, and I mean, I think this is in all careers, but definitely I think I'm from corporate and also been in creative community, and I look at how my experience in corporate build. But one of the things I really love about creatives, we talked about you being a performing artist, a writer, being in the theater, so all of those things came into play as a
Right,
creative producer, right? As a creative
right.
producer. So, what was one of the things that, like, once it was finished, that you was proud? Because the honestly, I asked, when did it start from script to screen? She said 2
Right,
months. That's
right.
amazing. So
Yeah,
you guys, can you talk a little bit, like, you finished? And one of the things that Tanya shared, and I think you were on when she was saying this, was how you were saying, to your point, do not just look at Pride film festivals. We need to look at Black film festivals. We need to put this
yeah,
story out
absolutely.
there. So, if you want to share a little bit about that film festival strategy, and
Yeah,
like
sure.
how you share that and your
Right. And
audience.
that and so again, that's also defining, what I do as a producer, because it's not just obviously the aesthetic and protecting the integrity of the narrative, and doing the research, et cetera, and finding cameras if that's what you need me to do, or holding the cutoff arm if that's what you need me to do on set. But it's also strategizing what you want that film to do for your career and what you want it to do for the culture. Those are two important. So if I'm meeting with a filmmaker now, right, and it isn't me, and even if it is me, I have to ask the question, what do you want this project to do for the culture? And what do you want this project to do for your career? And that determines where we're going to send this film. It determines how long this film should be. It determines even what that story might be. Okay. So, for example, with Winston, I knew I wanted to try and place it in ABFF because uh, at HBO does a short competition. They do shorts competitions in several
Okay.
festivals,
Right.
but really there are only two that I'm aware of that are Black film festivals, right? And the reason that's important is because my filmmaker, Tanya, said to me, I want to work in episodic television. Well,
Yeah.
that means you might want to go to the cream of the crop to have people recognize you. And at this moment, still, that HBO brand is everything. So,
Wow.
in my mind, if we can get a film that at least places in one of those festivals that has an HBO competition, then there are eyes that all of a sudden start looking at my filmmaker and looking at this project. Okay.
Right.
So, part of the push to her was I knew there was a deadline to submit that film. And I also knew this was a story that could be told. It is told in one night. It's one location. It's one actor. And I also knew I was working with a filmmaker that was going to shoot it in one night. Even though we had cushion, if something occurred, we had another night if we needed it, right? So
Okay.
that was my thought process. When we didn't get in ABFF, I wasn't too pressed by that because that doesn't change what your goal is. So this is a lesson in don't get hung up on the thing. Pay
Yes.
attention to your big why. Pay attention to what is it that you want your career to do, or where do you want to go with that? Every no isn't a rejection. It may simply be the universe saying, not right now, or baby, you ain't got to do that one. Let me put you over here, right? So
Right.
when that happened, she definitely wanted to submit to all these LGBTQ festivals. Now, I'm going to say this. Those festivals that are not BIPOC centered are only going to have a slot for 1 or 2 BIPOC products. That's it. So now you've gone from competing with, you know, maybe 90 slots, depending on what festival you're in, to competing for 2 slots. So that's thinking differently. That's not thinking like, it's not thinking like how many people are submitting and who you're competing against. I invite you to think about how many slots and how do I make my project more competitive for the slot. Don't think about the other filmmakers. Think about how long is my film. Think about, is there an arc in this film? Think about, is there a transformational moment in this film that we as an audience think about? Is it trending somewhere in social media? Is it topical? These are all things that help to make your project more competitive, right? But remember, the goal is, my filmmaker said, I want to work in episodic television. So the other side of that is, you want to get in more and more festivals, because eventually there's attraction. People are beginning to see you. You know, they're beginning to recognize your name. So it's all marketing at the end of the day. The white festivals, I'll just say it, call it as it is. Again, they may only have a few slots, and you know, our film is not an easy film. You know, it has some slurs that go over and over again. It's offensive in some ways, and not everybody's gonna be down with it, but that's okay. You know, that's fine, because it's speaking to the authenticity of what the story is. So that was the strategy. And so as she would keep going to these white festivals, I was like, I need you to submit to the Black people. Well, they're not gonna. I said, you don't know what people gonna do. You don't know their life. You don't know. And sure enough, you know, our people embraced us. Why? Because they already love us. And so if you are not a filmmaker on this call, please, 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 please support Black film festivals. Most of them you can see content for free right now, or $5. You've got ABFF, you've got Gary International, and you got Black Star happening right now. So go for it. Y'all at home, y'all gotta be bored with Love and Hip Hop. Shit, watch something else. Come on.
Giving a master class in pitching and film festival marketing strategy. I love this.
That's it. That's it. That's really how that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when you're doing festival strategy, also think about, what do you want from that festival too? It's not, you know, you just need to think about it that way, because they do cost money. Most of the time they're not going to pay for, well, this is pre-COVID. So pre-COVID is rare you're going to get a stipend. Yes. Also, America's Rainbow Film Festival. Yes. We have to talk about it. Lamonia says to speak on America's Rainbow. That is an African, well, is it just an African-American film festival? No, I would say probably not, but it is a LGBTQ festival that is definitely BIPOC centered. And so, you know, make sure that you guys support that festival as well. Again, a lot of this content now you can see online for free. These festivals you can participate online for free, so definitely do that. But with festival strategy, also think about, what do you want that festival to do for you, and what do you want to get out of it? Is it a destination you want to go to? That's cool, nothing wrong with that. But remember that it costs money to submit often, and it costs money to go, and it costs money to stay, and then you might want a t-shirt, and they don't all give things away. So you have to be judicious in how you spend your dollars to, you know, to build your career in your film.
Well, we do know that, as you talked about, there are a lot of virtual festivals, but let's talk about, I think it was Pan Africa, because you guys did that in February, right?
Pan African.
So what was kind of like your goal there? So you go, you have screenings. Do you have a list of people, like, these are the folks we want to connect with? Are you trying to get, you know, of course you're trying to get people to the screenings, but what was, you say, your 2 main goals when you went to the Pan African Film Festival? So
Pan African, you know, quite simply, I wanted the film to have an LA screening. So it's one thing to arrive in an industry town, and you want to connect with other creatives, with other directors, with producers, with writers, agents. It's a whole nother thing to arrive in a town and you got a project that you can say, come and see. So that was a big moment, because I knew this is a whole nother crew, a whole nother community of filmmakers to connect with. And that was really the intention. Also, I had such a pleasant time at Pan African. You know, that I'll be honest. You know, if I have a sucky time, chances are I'm not going to submit to your festival. You know, I mean, you could be whatever, whatever, but if it's not serving the filmmaker and you're not connecting with community or with industry, then it's not, you know, why would we participate in that? So Pan African for me, uh, I enjoy the festival. It's unique in not only the number of films, but that it also definitely has a you know, a Pan-African perspective. Is very diasporic. You know, you're going to meet filmmakers from the continent of Africa and from the Caribbean and from Europe, and so, and it's not that you won't do that in other Black film festivals or other film festivals, period. But the nexus of that at Pan-African is really lovely. And while it can have, let us say, it has definitely a very community feel, but I love that. I love that this happens on Crenshaw, man. I love that this is for the people, you know, in the same way that I
Yes.
love that hip hop is in Harlem, you know, it's for the people, you know, whatever. I love moments like that, because you're building audience
Right.
when
You get
just
the
somebody who
transcend
was shopping
culture.
at the mall shows up at your screening. You know what I mean? That you're building an audience. So I really appreciated that, and that was one of the reasons why I knew we wanted to do it. I wanted us to get in. We'd been there with Pa Unta and was received really well.
I'm glad.
And I just knew there is a whole nother community of filmmakers, and that's exactly what happened. We wound up having a great brunch with a bunch of filmmakers that, you know, I'd say we probably would never have the opportunity to be all together, because a lot of them were LA based. You know,
Mhm.
one was even Jamaican, living in Jamaica.
Oh,
We probably would have met him here, but you know, it's just a unique opportunity.
well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I also, so folks, I do see some comments going through. I don't know if I've missed any questions, but if you do have a question, can you put that in the question box? So, what's next for Winston, and what's next for you, if you can answer those two questions?
Yeah. So for Winston, I feel like um I think we're definitely going to do one, you know, you want to, festivals help in particular ways. They garner audience, they create a buzz. So I feel like we'll do some more, but I think I see you, Mr. Boudreaux. It's a friend from the way back saying hello. I see you. Um, but I feel like I'd like to see us find a platform so that it can have a home. You
Mhm.
know, I'd like to see it on a streaming platform. You know, and Tanya and I have been talking about it, and we have some ideas about that. If anybody on has some ideas about that, hit us up. But I feel like, you know, we're not done with Winston. I think Winston has so much to say that it probably needs to live out there in a festival space. But now that we're all in a virtual space, I'm like, well, maybe it's time for it to, you know, go on a platform now. So that's
Yes,
really the trajectory that we're looking at. And
it is.
I also feel like, in terms of the franchise of the subject matter of Winston, you know, I'm pushing Tanya to do this feature, but she may or may not want to do it. But I think I think Winston is just the beginning. I think there's more to unpack there in that narrative in a feature. Um, but we'll see, you know, how she's feeling about that. We've talked about it. Yes, I'm putting you on blast, Tanya, on
Yes, I
IG,
wanted to see
because
a thumbs up or maybe like a heart, something.
yeah, for sure. I
So
can't.
you guys are talking about that. Like, I like that.
Right,
Okay.
right. And then yeah, I think, and then for me, it's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. This has been an incredible time being quarantined and Zooming everywhere, because it has allowed me to infiltrate and engage the industry on the West Coast in a way that would not have probably happened if these circumstances hadn't happened. So I'm excited. I mean, there's some opportunities I can't speak about because they haven't done their press releases, but I will say that I am growing as a producer and very both overwhelmed and excited to do so. I think I feel okay with it now. And then, you know, as a writer producer in particular, I'm very excited about the episodic content that I am building and shopping right now, and the features that are coming. So, woohoo! It's a
That's
good
great.
time. It's a good time. Lots of writing though. Lots of writing.
Well, I look forward to you being able to kind of share, you know, some of your news. As you said, it's not
Absolutely.
where you can share some of that, but we look forward to that. But, you know, we're going to end on a fun question. So the thing is, I know, you know, New York is better. Some folks are going in and out, but just overall, when we know it's all healthy, you know, when COVID is gone, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to go? If you have a dream
When
vacation, a
everything
dream
is better,
restaurant, well, I'm saying I don't know
you
if it's going to be six
um
months or it's going to be a year, but when COVID is gone and we can, and it's not limited to just, you know, it's not limited. What is your dream place to go to eat? Like, do you have anything you want to do and say, I can't wait until after COVID is clear?
you know, the thing is, I don't really care about the food thing like that because, you know, New York has takeout, so we're still eating what we
So
want
you
to
can get
eat.
any type of food, right?
And yeah, you know, and also I'm very blessed that my stepson cooks most of our meals, so it allows me to stay focused in work. But I would say the thing that I do, there are two things that I would like to do very much. One is to be able to spend time with my friends like you and many of you on the call, or I should say call, or on the IG, to enjoy some Prosecco in person. I would really love that. And we know we can do that, but it's a little different right now. So that's the one thing. And then the most important thing, more than anything, I just want to get on a plane and feel safe to go and see my mother, you know, and I want my family together. And I think the thing that's been the hardest, and also I should tell you, Rosalind, when we do go to Texas and we do go to Houston and I do miss my mother, I mean, do visit my mother, that we go to, okay, so I love Cheddar's in Houston. Yes, it's a chain, but I love it.
I remember, yes, it's Cheddar's.
I go to Gringos, which is another chain, with my friends in Houston, and we eat Mexican food. And I love Rupor in Sugarland, which has amazing Creole and Cajun cuisine. It's like
Awesome.
really good. And I love Lucille's, which is a wonderful Black-owned restaurant in the Museum District in Houston, that is actually owned by one of my elementary school teacher's sons. Isn't that weird? And then in
Yeah.
New York, I, you know, the one of the places we used to love to go, sadly, is fell victim to COVID because they couldn't sustain their business. So it's hard for me to even really vision, you know, I mean, I don't know what to say about New York in that regard. I'm sorry, because I really should be
No,
big up
that
in
that was some really
individual
great wishes
restaurants,
for
but at this
Texas.
point, I haven't had a super amazing experience where I feel like I want to do that, to just be honest with you. That's all.
But it's great. I know. Wanting to see your mom and some great restaurants and food there. So thanks for sharing that with
Yeah,
us. And so,
cool.
guys, I just want to say that this has been great. I really appreciate you, Letitia and Tanya and Ayana. You know, you guys have been patient, and I asked for like an hour time. You guys gave me like 2.5 hours, so I appreciate it. I know we had a lot of technical difficulties, but this was amazing, and we have it pinned that we definitely want. Not only want you guys to watch Winston, but we also want you guys to vote. So go to abff.com. You get a community
Yes,
pass. You get to see Winston free. You get to see other festivals free. And not only
that's
that, they
right.
have really great panels and I think a comedy show tonight. So check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's all
also,
free.
it's all free. And also at
Yep,
9 o'clock, I am really excited that we will be like in an hour and a half, we will be having our first, Murphy Media will be having this first writing workshop with Edwina Martin Arnold, who I think is on here. And she was
that's
on here
loud.
earlier. How to write romance Edwina style. So I think some of you on the call have already registered. Please join. We're going to be doing it via Zoom, but you can also check us out on live. So we'll be on Edwina's page and also my page, Rosalind Murphy. This has been
And
an
I just have to
amazing.
plug. I have to
Yes.
plug. You guys go to Edwina's workshop. She's a romance novelist. She's a Black romance novelist. She writes amazing novels that are both heartwarming and hilarious and speak
Nine
to,
published.
huh?
Nine
Which is nine. Yeah,
published.
nine. No, no. Yes, nine. And also, she's my cousin, so please support her. But more importantly, enjoy writing romance or erotica. Maybe you could push the envelope and get sexy. Ooh.
Sexy. Excited. We're really excited. So this has been a great day for me because for me, I wanted to say, like, when I did my introduction, I was like, I'm really excited that I get to talk to three talented filmmakers. And yes, they're women, but we're celebrating their talent. We're celebrating their film is in American Black Film Festival, as well as they've been in several other ones. So we definitely ask, I know there's some creatives on here, but folks who, I started off as a film fan. Yes, let's go to Black film festivals. Let's support, let's post, let's encourage. So thanks everyone for joining, and thank you guys for saying yes and coming on live with me so I could get my backstories and just kind of celebrate you guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Hey, hit us up on social media. Follow all three of us, all four of us on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook. If you have any more questions about whatever,
We do
we're
have a
here.
question. I missed a question.
You had a
Okay.
question? We had a
So
question?
so thank you still for the question. We shared the link on abff.com,
Yes.
and you can look up Winston and also in the Pride section. I think we had one other one. Oh, okay. Let's see, Lamonia. Any advice for
Oh,
women who want to get started as producers? Thank you, Lamonia.
she asking you or me?
You. You're
Well,
my
let me just
guest.
say, Rosalind's a fantastic producer. She's chilling in the cut right now. But I would say find a story that you love, that you can see, and I mean literally see the beginning, middle, and end of it on a screen. When you find that, then you start putting the pieces together. You don't have to know everything, child. That's what Google is for. I'm just saying you'll figure it out. But one of the first things I would say is you have to find a story that you're really passionate about, because you're going to live with that story maybe for a really long time, or maybe just for a few months, or maybe for 15 plus years. But we won't talk about that story just yet. That'll be another interview. But all of that to say, that's the first step is that, and get your organizational tools together, whatever that means for you. Go and work on other people's projects, help them out, help them out. You know, don't be mercenary. Don't be mercenary. Don't just be there to get your credit and get out. I understand that, but if you're going to take on the role of anything that's a collaborative effort, producing film, theater, you have to ask yourself again, who do you serve, or what do you serve? And the answer would be the work. So if you can commit to that story and that work, then you can start to move into producing. But I would say work on somebody else's project, absolutely, and learn. And if you have a knack for money, then get your line producing skills together, because you also know the different types of producers. You know, I'm not I shouldn't say I'm not. I'm developing the relationships with financiers in that way, so they bring in the money. That's your executive producer.
Mm-hmm.
But just know that there are all types of producers, and you will find out which one you are, because you don't have to be the one that brings the money. You might be the one that manages the money, or you might be the one that gets you know, brand placement and sponsorship in that way, where you're doing branded content almost. Or you might be someone like me who's just, you know, I used to read encyclopedias as a kid. What can I tell you? Yes, really, that old. Let's keep it moving. But I'm just saying, when you have a wealth of information that you can lend to your film or your project, that is helpful. Yeah. So that would be
Thank
my
you.
suggestion. Common
And
pitfalls to
Lamonia.
avoid.
And oh, and Lamonia also asked, she said, well, it's for both of you. So I think you covered it. One of the things I
Yeah.
was going to add is that you know, if you're interested in producing, I think you should also be open to doing different roles within the film. I started off as a
Absolutely.
PA. I really always say I have dope friends, and I had a lot of friends who were filmmakers, and I started off as a PA, and I did
Right.
everything from script supervisor, PA, to catering. That
Right.
energy on the set, and first starting to really love just the stories and seeing it on film, but it's a whole nother energy, whole other thing, like behind the production, right? In the production,
That's
you work
right.
with so many people. So for me, like, I remember being really excited about the script supervisor and working as a PA, and had no qualms about, you know, hey, this is like, yeah, I can lift up this, you know, lamp and move it over here. But it's just, I think it's really exciting to see what happens within that, right? And then,
Right.
you know, and as we talked to Tanya and Letitia and also Ayana, like, you know, like, we have actors, people have started off in acting. You've done three of the directors. So
That's right.
I would say be open to working on a film. And then as you start to understand and see stories that you are interested in, you could, a big part of producing is marketing. So if you are, I think when I first started, I was like, do I fit here? How does marketing fit in film? But
Right.
honestly, it has served me well. So I definitely think, you know, if you're a marketer, like, you know, start talking to people. As we talked about, there are different avenues where you can go and pitch and kind of match up. So that's what I
Yep.
would add to that conversation.
Yep.
I really love producing, and it's
I
really
know you
about finding
do.
the right
Yep.
team, and how you can support each other, encourage each other, and learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody asked what pitfalls to avoid. Um, I think it's important up front that you are clear about your credits. Don't assume anything. I think honestly, women in particular are very quiet about that kind of thing. And I definitely think that you should have that conversation up front. I think you should have the conversation about, you know, how you want to function on set if you're on set, you know, and only because it helps you know you can often give so much more if you are clear about that, you know, especially in the beginning. I'm going to say that, and you first in the beginning, it's really helpful to do that.
That's
Lamonia says
good.
she has a question for you.
Okay, I'm just watching the time. I'm not, it's not giving me. So what is that question? Oh, it's in the box. Thank you. I missed it. So let's see. Talk about producing in Jamaica as a non-Jamaica versus producing in the US. That's good. I would say if you could keep it to 2 minutes, because I think we're close on time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is again only my experience. I would say, uh, I can't speak to anything being challenging because I had such an amazing guide. You know, Tanya's team is awesome in Jamaica, and Tanya is amazing. You know, to see her on set and to watch her do what she does is you're lucky if you're on set with her because she runs a tight ship, which I appreciate, and she also you know, she thinks about every little thing. I mean, every snacks. And I'm not talking craft service snacks. I'm talking about that or time, just little things that I probably wouldn't have considered. She absolutely does. But I would say one of the big differences would be the limitation on access to equipment. If you're flying into Jamaica or even another country, I think St. Lucia has really great deals to produce films there and to shoot there, but they may not have equipment there. So when you're thinking about going to another country, even if you're from that country, you got to bear in mind, are they going to have everything you need? Versus if I'm shooting in New York, oh, let's go to Adorama, you know, or someplace like that, and you know, rent what we need, or let's call a couple of filmmakers and get what we need. You may not be able to do that as quickly in Jamaica. Also, your understanding traffic, understanding when's a good time to do things. I mean, those are, to me, that's the same thing you would deal with in the United States. I
Okay.
think the difference is really also customs. Oh yes, customs, Lamonia. You really you need to know what kind of money you're going to have to come out your pocket
Yeah.
with, not only when you prep to go, but when you get there, you know, whose palm needs to be greased, and if you can get it done before. I am not shading, I'm just being real.
Yeah.
And so
Culturally.
I learned what a fixer was because of Tanya, because I didn't know. I was like, what the hell is that? Is that Ray Donovan? A fixer? What, they gonna beat up somebody? Well, if they have to, they will. But you need that person on the ground in Jamaica or someone who really, really knows that country in the way that Tanya does, to be able to negotiate everything from fees to, lunch, to housing, to traffic being managed so your crew can get to the beach where you're shooting on time, because it's a highway with one way going and one way back, and that's the only way to get there. So there are those kind of nuances. Exactly. Those kind of nuances in smaller places that make shooting in those countries very exciting, but you really do need to work with people who actually do that work there. But also know, if you want certain types of things, certain types of cameras, even just bringing in a prosthetic is an issue into another country. So I would say that's the biggest difference, is the red tape and the logistics and the clearances. The government clearances are much, much more complicated than what you would have producing here.
Yes,
Yes,
Lamonia,
lots and lots of
a lot more.
pre-production, Lamonia. Yeah, you got to really plan,
Yes.
really plan.
Well, that was a great question. Thank you. So
Yeah,
we are going to say thank you again and wrap this up. This has been amazing. This
awesome.
has been really great. I feel so good that I got like the team here, and we got to have some great conversations and questions. And with
Yes,
the AFF, also we talked about following on social media. You have all of the ladies, Instagram accounts. So start there and reach out, and they are so open to answering questions. And thanks for this IG community and friends who joined. Have a good
thank you
one.
guys.
I'm heading over to the writing one now.
Woo!
A,
Follow her, y'all.
a
Follow her.
great Sunday. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining.